A storm does not ask permission before it shatters the sky. A fire does not beg to burn, and the chosen do not explain their existence. The universe does not negotiate, it does not plead, it decides. And once it has chosen, nothing, no force, no enemy, no whisper in the dark, can undo its will. The universe does not repeat itself. It does not create copies. It does not waste its time on the ordinary. It chooses, and when it chooses, it does not apologize. You were not made to blend in. You were made to burn through every illusion, to shatter every false system, to walk where no one else could survive. You were made to be feared, and they know it. That's why they throw everything at you: lies, betrayals, distractions, weapons made of whispers and doubt. They dig their claws in, thinking they can stop you. But what they don't understand is this: you are not battling them. They are battling the universe, and no one wins that war. They scream, they scratch, they beg the universe to take back its choice. But it is done. You were chosen, and nothing can change that. You will rise, you will outlast them, and they will break themselves against your existence. Before we go deeper, take a moment, like and subscribe. The more chosen ones reach this, the stronger our force becomes. Every time you engage, you signal the system that this message must spread. This is how we gather. This is how we rise. Now, let's begin. They will stalk you. They will obsess over you. They will build their lives around hating you. Why? Because they have nothing else. They have no purpose, no fire, no force behind them. They exist only in the shadows of those who do. When you are chosen, you are not just seen, you are felt. You walk into a room and the air shifts. You speak and their illusions tremble. You exist and they unravel. This is why they whisper. This is why they scheme. This is why they try to turn the world against you. They think if they gather enough voices, if they spread enough lies, if they cast enough stones, they can make you doubt yourself. But a mountain does not concern itself with the wind, and a chosen one does not bow to the weak. You were built to withstand every storm. You were born to break every system. Yet here you are, doubting, questioning, whispering in the dark, wondering if you should shrink, if you should fold, if you should make yourself small enough to be accepted. How dare you? How dare you dim your light just because it blinds them? How dare you act like you are alone when every force in existence is standing behind you? They do not fear what you are now. They fear what you are becoming. And still, they try. They try to lure you into their battles, to drain you, to trap you in their games. But the strongest warrior does not waste energy fighting battles that were already won. You do not explain yourself. You do not lower yourself. You do not kneel before anything lesser than you. You stand, you rise, and you watch as those who tried to break you vanish in your shadow. They want you to react. They want you to fight them, to explain yourself, to prove your worth. They want you drained, exhausted, tangled in battles that don't matter. But here's what they don't understand. You do not fight battles that are already won. You do not explain yourself. You do not waste your breath on those who exist only to drag you down. You do not concern yourself with the opinions of those who are beneath you. Your silence will be louder than their screams. Your presence alone will be their greatest nightmare. Because no matter what they do, they cannot stop you. They cannot erase what the universe has set in motion. You don't even have to chase them away. They will flee on their own, not because you threaten them, but because they cannot survive in the presence of something greater. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to be understood. You are not here to make anyone comfortable. You are here to dismantle, to rebuild, to carry power that does not kneel, does not bow, and does not explain itself. Stand up, straighten your back. Let them watch, let them whisper, let them fear you. None of it matters. The moment you accept your power, they are already gone. This is your signal. If you feel the fire, if you sense the shift, you are exactly where you need to be. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment the number 77 if you're ready to silence every enemy forever. Every second you stay strengthens the force pulling you toward your power. Now, let's go deeper. If you are truly chosen, you will feel it, and you won't be able to look away. Number 1. A lion does not turn. When dogs bark, it keeps walking toward the kill. They spit venom, they throw stones, they claw at the edges of your mind, hoping, praying that you will flinch, that you will turn, that you will acknowledge them, that you will waste even a second of your energy proving yourself to those who were never meant to stand beside you. But here's the truth. You don't prove your power by speaking. You prove it by existing. They scream, they twist words, they gather in their pathetic little circles, whispering your name like a curse, hoping that if they say it enough times, they can unmake what the universe has already decided. But the throne does not argue. The crown does not justify itself. And a king never explains his right to rule to fools who will never sit where he sits. The moment you refuse to react, they lost. Power isn't about volume, it's about presence. Look around. Who stands taller? Who is still unshaken? Who remains even after every attack, every betrayal, every pathetic attempt to break them? You. Because the chosen ones are not built from comfort, they are built from fire. And fire does not listen when the wind howls. It does not ask permission to burn. It simply consumes. But some of you dare to hesitate. Some of you dare to question your own light because the weak cry when it blinds them. How dare you? How dare you act like you were mistaken? How dare you let their words sink into your skin when the universe itself has declared you untouchable? But what if they're right? They are not. But what if I fail? You won't, because failure was never an option for the chosen. But what if I lose everything? Then everything you lost was never meant to stand beside you in the first place. Let them scream. Let them scratch at the walls, clawing for something, anything that will give them a sense of control. It will never be you, because you do not answer to the desperate. You do not kneel before the weak. You do not waste your breath on those who survive only by clinging to the power of others. They are parasites. They exist only in the shadows cast by the strong, and they are terrified because they know what happens next. The moment you stop listening to them, the moment you stop doubting yourself, the moment you step fully into what you are, they disappear. Not because you fight them, but because they cannot survive in your presence. They were never strong enough to stand on their own. They only knew how to pull others down, to chip away at something greater, hoping that if they destroyed you, it would somehow elevate them. But you are not their stepping stone. You were built to walk over them. You don't argue with ants when you're a lion. You don't explain your fire to those who only know how to drown. You rise. And when you do, they will burn trying to reach you. This is the power of being chosen. It is not gentle. It does not ask for permission. It haunts your enemies. It seeps into their dreams. It twists in their guts. It makes their every waking moment a reminder of what they will never be. And that is why they fight so hard to break you. They don't hate you because of what you've done. They hate you because of what you represent. Proof that they will never be enough. They hate you because your existence alone has already defeated them. And yet, here you are, still questioning, still hesitating, still whispering to yourself in the dark. Enough. Enough doubting. Enough waiting. Enough making yourself small so they can feel big. Step into what you are. Own it. Wield it like the weapon it was always meant to be. Because a king does not argue with fools. He lets the throne speak. Number 2. The ocean does not apologize for its depth. It drowns those who cannot swim. They sense you before they see you. They feel your presence like a storm on the horizon, creeping into their bones, making their breath hitch, their skin crawl. You do not have to say a word. Your existence alone unsettles them. Why? Because they know. They know they will never be what you are. They know that no matter how much they try to mimic, to steal, to mold themselves into something greater, they will always fall short. And that reality eats them alive. Instead of facing it, instead of fixing themselves, instead of rising to meet their own potential, they turn on you. You become the problem. Their failures, their insecurities, their smallness, it all becomes your fault. They spit their jealousy in the form of insults. They disguise their fear as hate. They project everything they lack onto you, hoping you will shrink under the weight of their words. But here's what they refuse to understand. You are the sun, and the sun does not stop shining just because it burns those who get too close. They can curse it, they can hide from it, they can pretend it does not exist, but they cannot stop it. They cannot stop you. Yet some of you dare to dim yourselves for their comfort. Some of you dare to apologize for being too bright, too powerful, too much. How dare you? How dare you betray the fire inside you just because the weak cannot handle the heat? How dare you make yourself small because they refuse to grow? But what if I'm too much? You are, and you always will be, for them. But what if they turn everyone against me? Let them. Let the blind lead the blind. The ones who matter will never be swayed by the words of the weak. But what if I lose people? Then they were never meant to walk beside you in the first place. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were never meant to be accepted by those who live in the dark. You were meant to outshine them all. And that is why they fear you. Because the moment you stop apologizing, the moment you stop dimming yourself to make them comfortable, the moment you step fully into your light, they will burn. They will scream louder. They will throw tantrums. They will curse the sky, curse fate, curse everything except their own smallness. And then they will disappear, because they cannot breathe in the presence of something greater. They exist only in the shadows cast by the strong. And when you finally shine at full strength, there will be no shadows left for them to hide in. This is the power of being chosen. It does not whisper. It does not ask for permission. It does not apologize. It forces people to confront themselves. It makes them see everything they are not. It makes them hate you, obsess over you, fear you, all because you remind them of their own limits. But that is not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for the insecurities of the weak. You are not here to make them feel comfortable in their mediocrity. You are not here to handhold the ones who refuse to grow. You are here to shine. You are here to stand, untouchable, unshaken, unapologetic. Let them talk. Let them twist your name in their mouths, trying to turn the world against you. Let them fight battles against shadows, thinking they can extinguish the sun with their bare hands. None of it matters. because at the end of the day, you will still rise. And they will still be crawling in the dark, praying for a light they can never reach. Number 3. The scorpion always stings itself in the end. Poison never stays contained. They watch, they linger in the shadows, pretending, waiting, biting their tongues, hiding their true faces behind forced smiles and empty words. They think they are patient, they think they are clever. But a snake can only coil for so long before it has to strike. Jealousy is a weight that cannot be carried forever. It festers, it rots, it seeps through the cracks, and soon enough, it spills out of them like venom from a wound they cannot close. And the moment they hiss, you will know. The moment they slip, the moment they whisper too loudly, the moment their mask cracks and the truth spills out, you will see them for what they have always been. But here's what they don't understand. They were never hiding from you. They were hiding from themselves. They wanted to believe they could stand beside you. They wanted to believe they were your equal. They wanted to believe that if they smiled, if they played the role, if they kept their jealousy buried deep enough, you would never sense their resentment. But you did. You always did. Because the chosen ones do not move blindly. You felt the shift. You saw the hesitation. You noticed the cracks before they even formed. But instead of calling them out, instead of lowering yourself to their level, you let time do the work for you. Because snakes always expose themselves. They cannot help it. The weight of their own bitterness becomes too much. The poison in their veins turns against them. They see you rising, untouched, unshaken, untouchable, and it eats them alive. And suddenly, they can't help themselves. The whispers get louder. The envy spills out of them. They show their fangs. And in that moment, you are free. You never had to search for them. You never had to fight them. You never had to waste your time trying to decipher their intentions. All you had to do was keep moving, and they exposed themselves every time. But some of you still hesitate. Some of you ignore the hiss because you are afraid to face the truth. Some of you still cling to the idea that they were ever meant to walk beside you. How dare you? How dare you doubt what you already know? How dare you pretend you don't see the signs when the universe has made them so clear? But what if I'm wrong? You're not. Your instincts have never failed you. Trust them. But what if I lose them? Then you gain yourself. But what if I'm alone? You won't be. The right ones will come, and they will never need to hide. Let the snakes expose themselves. Let the masks fall. Let the fangs show. You do not need to react. You do not need to explain. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. All you need to do is keep moving. Because when you do, they will crumble. Not by your hand, not by your words, but under the weight of their own hatred. Bitterness is a self-inflicted wound. Envy is a poison they drink, thinking it will kill you. But in the end, they destroy only themselves. And you will still be rising, unbothered, unshaken, untouchable. Because a chosen one does not chase shadows. A chosen one does not waste time with snakes. A chosen one simply walks forward and watches as the weak expose themselves every time. Number 4. A puppet that cuts its strings becomes a monster to the hands that once controlled it. They prod, they poke, they bait you with words designed to cut, with actions designed to provoke. They need your reaction. It is their oxygen, their lifeline, the only thing keeping them from crumbling under the weight of their own insignificance. Without you, they are nothing, and they know it. That is why they work so hard to keep you tangled in their games, to keep you invested in proving yourself, to keep you explaining, defending, fighting battles that drain you while they sit back and feast on your energy. But here's the truth. The moment you stop engaging, they stop existing. They do not hate you because you are strong. They hate you because you are the source of their relevance. Your emotions, your energy, your reaction, that is what fuels them. When you rise above it, when you detach, when you refuse to be moved by their little tricks, you strip them of the only power they ever had. And they panic. They throw more at you, desperate to make you flinch. They will insult you harder, spread bigger lies, manufacture more chaos, anything to pull you back in. Because without you, they are forced to face something far worse than your strength. They are forced to face themselves. And nothing is more terrifying to the weak than their own emptiness. But some of you still fall for it. Some of you still allow yourselves to be triggered, still feel the need to prove something, still let their words crawl under your skin like parasites. How dare you? How dare you hand your power over to those who are beneath you? How dare you let people who are nothing dictate how you feel? But they lied about me. Let them. Lies are for those who fear the truth. And the truth is, their words mean nothing. But I have to defend myself. No, you don't. A lion does not answer to the opinions of sheep. A king does not justify himself to peasants. And the sun does not pause its rise to address those who curse its light. But I can't let them win. Win what? A battle that only exists in their minds? The only thing they ever stood to gain was your reaction. And when you refuse to give it, they have already lost. They want you emotional. They want you reckless. They want you distracted. Because as long as they can keep you engaged in meaningless battles, you will never have time to build, to rise, to become untouchable. They want you stuck in the mud with them. But you were not meant to be dirty. You were meant to stand above, untouchable, unreachable, a force too far beyond their grasp. So let them scream. Let them beg for your attention in whatever pathetic way they can. Let them burn themselves out, trying to drag you back into their chaos. Remain silent, remain detached, and watch them crumble. Because that is the greatest punishment of all. Not your anger, not your revenge, not your retaliation, your indifference. Nothing destroys them faster than knowing that after all their effort, after all their games, after all their desperate attempts to shake you, you don't care. That you will continue to rise, that you will continue to move forward, that you will continue to exist at a level they will never reach. And they will stay exactly where they are, trapped, weak, drowning in their own irrelevance. Because without you, they are nothing. Number 5. A candle. Will always hate a wildfire, not because it's evil, but because it knows it will never burn that bright. They don't hate you. Hate would require strength, and they have none. What they feel is something weaker, something more pathetic, something that eats them alive from the inside out. Envy. They look at you and their chest tightens. They watch you move and their stomach knots. They hear your name and their teeth grind, because no matter how hard they try to ignore it, you exist. And your existence alone exposes everything they are not. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to say a word. You simply walk into a room and the weight of their own inadequacy crushes them. That's why they whisper. That's why they scheme. That's why they build their pathetic little groups, muttering your name in hushed voices, convincing themselves that if enough of them come together, if they throw enough stones, if they spread enough lies, they can dim your fire. But here's the truth. The sun does not acknowledge candles, and a wildfire does not apologize for burning brighter than a dim flame. It is not your fault that they refuse to rise. It is not your fault that they would rather resent than rebuild. It is not your fault that when faced with your light, they choose to curse it instead of stepping into their own. But some of you still hesitate. Some of you still question, still shrink, still consider lowering yourself so they feel comfortable in their smallness. How dare you? How dare you betray your own fire just because it makes them feel cold? How dare you consider dimming yourself for those who would rather stay in the dark than ignite their own flame? But what if I lose people? Then they were never meant to stand in your light. But what if I become a target? You already are. Weakness will always resent strength. The only choice you have is whether you let it stop you. But what if I shine too bright? Then let them burn, let them rage, let them disappear into their own insignificance. Their bitterness is not your burden. They are not your concern. The only thing that matters is that you keep shining, because your presence alone is enough to destroy every illusion they've built for themselves. Your light forces them to see what they lack, forces them to confront every excuse, every limitation, every self-imposed chain. And when given the choice to rise or rot, they choose to rot. That is not your problem. You do not exist for them. You do not lower yourself to make them comfortable. You do not explain yourself to those who were never meant to stand at your level. You do not waste energy worrying about those who choose to be nothing. Because here's the truth, they will never say out loud. They don't want to fix themselves. They don't want to rise. They don't want to push through the fire and find their own greatness. They just want to watch you burn. They want you to fall. They want you to shrink. They want you to doubt yourself so that for a brief moment they don't have to feel so small. But that moment will never last. Because even if you bent, even if you bowed, even if you dimmed yourself to the lowest flicker possible, they would still find a way to resent you. Because they do not hate what you do. They hate what you are. And no matter how much they twist, no matter how much they fight, no matter how many times they try to make the world see you through their warped, bitter lens, you will still be you, and they will still be them. So let them talk. Let them watch. Let them waste their days gnashing their teeth at a sun that will never dim for them. None of it matters, because at the end of the day, you will still rise. And they will fade into nothingness. Number 6. A worm can't kill a lion. It can only tremble beneath its paws. They thought they had power over you. They thought their whispers could bury you, that their schemes could break you, that their shadows could consume your light. Fools. Their attacks were never a real threat. Their words were just noise. Their distractions, nothing but weak attempts to pull you down to a level you were never meant to crawl in. But you don't crawl. You were built to walk above them. They claw at you, throwing everything they have, hoping something will stick. Lies, doubts, betrayals. But the weak have never been able to bring down the strong. They scream in frustration when they see you still standing. They rage when they realize their weapons have done nothing but prove how untouchable you are. Because that's the secret they will never admit. They were never meant to win. The universe does not allow the weak to triumph over the strong. The chosen do not fall to those who were never built to stand beside them. And no matter how hard they fight, no matter how desperately they try to destroy you, they are only proving what they refuse to accept. That you were always above them. That their entire existence, their entire reason for fighting you, has never been about winning. It has been about denying the truth, because if they admitted it, if they accepted that nothing they do will ever break you, then they would have to face the unbearable weight of their own insignificance, and that would destroy them faster than you ever could. Yet some of you still hesitate. Some of you still look at the shadows they cast and wonder if they might be stronger than your light. How dare you? How dare you question what the universe has already confirmed? How dare you entertain the idea that they might hold even a fraction of the power they claim to? Look at them. Look at what they have become. They are nothing. They exist only in reaction to you. Their shadows only stretch because of your light. Their voices only scream because of your silence. Their existence is tied to yours, but yours has never been tied to theirs. But what if they never stop? They won't. A shadow will always follow the light, but it will never overtake it. But what if they turn more people against me? Let them. The blind will always follow the blind, and the ones who matter will never be swayed by the words of the weak. But what if I lose everything? Then everything you lost was never yours to begin with. The universe does not strip you of anything that was meant to be yours. It does not take from the chosen. It removes the unnecessary, the temporary, the things that were holding you back disguised as blessings. And the ones fighting you, they were never more than dust in the wind. Look at them now. Where are they? Fading, crumbling, being swallowed by the very shadows they tried to use against you. Because here's the truth. The weak always consume themselves in the end. They fight, they scheme, they burn with jealousy and rage, but all they are doing is speeding up their own destruction. You don't have to lift a finger. You don't have to fight them. You only have to outlast them. And you will, because you were built to. You were never meant to fall at the hands of the insignificant. You were never meant to bow to those who don't deserve to stand at your side. They were always meant to be temporary. You were always meant to rise. So let them talk. Let them scratch and claw at a force they will never understand. Let them waste their days trying to find a way to dim a sun that will never stop shining. None of it matters. Because at the end of the day, you will still stand. And they will disappear into the nothingness they always were. Number 7. A predator does not announce its attack. It ends the hunt before its prey knows it's over. They wanted your attention. They wanted your energy. They wanted you tangled in their web, wasting your breath, defending yourself against people who were never going to hear you. They wanted a war. They wanted chaos. They wanted you to swing wildly, to lash out, to prove yourself to those who have already decided to misunderstand you. But you gave them nothing. And that nothingness, it killed them. Because the weak do not know how to handle silence. They only know how to scream. They expected you to fight back, to bark, to rage, to lose control the way they do. They expected you to react, to step into their circus, to get on your knees and explain yourself to people who were never meant to be in your presence to begin with. But a wolf does not bark. A wolf watches. A wolf waits. And when the time comes, it strikes once, and the fight is over before it begins. And that's what they cannot stand. That's what makes their blood boil. Not that you fought, not that you argued, not that you met them at their level, but that you didn't, that you stayed unmoved, unbothered, untouched, that you let them tire themselves out, throwing punch after punch into empty air, that you watched from the shadows while they raged, while they screamed, while they destroyed themselves trying to break you. Because the loudest enemy is always the weakest. They bark, they whine, they scream your name in places you have never even stepped foot in, thinking that if they can be louder than you, if they can convince enough people, if they can make enough noise, they can undo what the universe has already decided. They can't, but that won't stop them from trying. And here's where so many of you make a mistake. You think you need to clear your name. You think you need to explain yourself. You think you need to waste energy arguing with people who have already lost. You don't. Let them talk. Let them spin their lies. Let them run their mouths until their throats are raw. It changes nothing, because a wolf does not stop to explain itself to prey. It does not sit around debating with creatures that only exist to run, hide, and beg for mercy. It moves in silence, and in that silence, it wins. That is the difference between you and them. They are loud because they need to be, because without their noise, they have nothing, no power, no presence, no purpose. But you don't need to say a word. Your silence is heavier than their screams. Your presence is more powerful than their attacks. Your refusal to engage is the very thing that drives them mad. Because they don't just want to hurt you, they want to break you. And when you give them nothing to break, when you refuse to react, when you stand tall and let them burn themselves out trying to reach you, they have no choice but to turn on themselves. That is the fate of the weak. They do not win because they never knew how to. They do not rise because they were never built to. They exist only in opposition to something greater, and when that greater force refuses to acknowledge them, they self-destruct. That is what you are watching now. Their bitterness is consuming them. Their own hatred is eating them alive. Their obsession with you, their need to pull you down, their endless attempts to draw you into their pathetic wars, it is draining them. And the best part, you never had to lift a single finger, because while they barked, while they howled, while they begged the world to turn against you, you were already 10 steps ahead, walking toward a throne they will never touch. And when they finally collapse from exhaustion, when they finally suffocate in the grave they dug for you, when they finally look around and realize that you were never in the war they imagined, you will still be standing, because a wolf does not bark. It moves, it watches, and when the time comes, it strikes once, and the fight ends before it even begins. Number 8. A bird does not stop flying, just because the caged ones call it arrogant. You terrify them, not because you've harmed them, not because you've stolen from them, not because you've done anything to them at all, but because you exist beyond their control. And weak people crave control, like dying men crave air. They spend their lives trapped in invisible cages. Cages they built themselves. Cages they swore were real. Cages they convinced everyone else to live inside. They bind themselves with chains of fear, of doubt, of excuses, of rules written by people just as small as them. And then they see you. You who do not bow, you who do not wait for permission, you who spread your wings and soar while they rot in a prison of their own making. And that is why they hate you. Not because you have hurt them, not because you have done anything wrong, but because you expose their chains just by existing. They cannot stand to see someone so free when they have spent their entire lives convincing themselves that their cage was all there was. So they try to drag you down. They mock, they slander, they call you reckless, selfish, foolish, anything to convince themselves that their small, limited, caged life is the right way to live. But here's what they refuse to admit. They don't hate your freedom. They hate the fact that they were too weak to claim their own. And instead of rising, instead of facing themselves, instead of breaking their own chains, They resent you for doing what they could never do. And still, some of you hesitate. Still, some of you look back at the cage, at the ones behind the bars, and wonder if you should clip your own wings to make them feel better. How dare you? How dare you betray the universe's gift just because they refuse to accept their own? How dare you consider grounding yourself to soothe the fears of those who would rather rot than rise? But what if they call me selfish? Let them. The caged will always hate the ones who fly free. But what if they turn people against me? Then those people were never meant to walk with you. Let them stay in their cages. Let them whisper behind locked doors. It does not concern you. But what if I'm wrong? Wrong? Tell me, how can the sky be wrong? How can the wind be wrong? How can something that was always meant to be free be wrong for embracing what it is? You are not wrong. You were never wrong. They were. For choosing their chains. For settling for cages they could have broken at any time. For wasting their lives envying those who had the strength to escape. That is their burden to carry, not yours. So let them talk. Let them seethe. Let them fester in their own bitterness, convinced that their cage is a kingdom while you soar above them, untouchable, unreachable, unbreakable. Because here's what they don't realize. Their war was lost before it even began. The moment you stepped beyond their walls, the moment you took your first breath of open air, the moment you refused to be trapped by their rules, their doubts, their limits, you became something they will never catch. And they know it. That's why they scream so loud. That's why they throw everything at you. That's why they desperately want you to look back. Because the moment you stop looking, the moment you stop caring, the moment you finally embrace the sky as your home, they no longer exist. They will be nothing more than shadows in a place you will never return to. And you will be everything they could never be. So keep flying, keep rising, keep breaking every limit they swore was real. The sky belongs to you, and they will remain trapped below, watching, wishing, and rotting in the cages they built for themselves. Number 9. They clipped your wings, but they couldn't change your blood. You were always built to fly. They spent years trying to convince you that you were ordinary, that you were like them, that you belonged in a cage, that you should be grateful for the scraps they threw your way. They laughed when you hesitated. They fed you doubt like it was air, made you second-guess your own fire, made you believe you needed their permission to be great. And for a while, you believed them. You made yourself smaller. You silenced your roar. You played along, thinking that if you just fit in, if you just stayed quiet, if you just shrank enough, they would finally let you exist in peace. But here's what they never realized. A lion born in a cage does not become a house cat. It does not matter how many walls they built around you, how many times they told you that you were nothing, how long they convinced you to kneel. You were never meant to stay there. And the second you realized it, the moment you stopped looking for their approval, stopped waiting for their acceptance, stopped needing their validation, you became unstoppable. Now they panic. Now they whisper. Now they watch in fear because they see it. The shift, the confidence, the fire in your eyes. You are free now, and a free lion does not ask permission to rule. They scramble. They try to pull you back, to remind you of the old doubts, the old chains, the old tricks that used to keep you obedient. They try to make you feel guilty for growing, for leaving them behind, for no longer needing them. But you know the truth now. They never wanted you to be free. They never wanted you to see your own power, because the moment you did, they lost all control over you. You no longer react. You no longer beg. you no longer ask. And that terrifies them, because now you move differently. Your presence commands respect before you even speak. Your energy shifts the air when you walk into a room. You see through their lies, their masks, their desperate attempts to manipulate you back into a cage that no longer exists. And you do not care. You do not explain yourself. You do not apologize for outgrowing them. You do not lower yourself so they feel tall. Because here's the truth they will never admit. They liked you better when you were caged. Not because they cared for you, not because they wanted to protect you, but because they feared what would happen if you ever realized who you were. They feared the day you would stop listening, the day you would step out of their reach, the day you would become too powerful, too sure of yourself, too strong to be manipulated, too focused to be distracted. That day has come, and now they know. They cannot tame you. They cannot silence you. They cannot break you. Because you are no longer asking for a seat at their table. You are building your own kingdom, and a freed lion does not return to its cage. But some of you still hesitate. Some of you still look back, still wonder if you're being selfish, if you should dim yourself just a little, if you should go back to make them comfortable. How dare you? How dare you even consider walking back into the chains you were born to break? How dare you think for 1 second that you owe your captors anything? But what if I lose people? Then let them go. Anyone who needed you caged was never your ally. But what if they try to pull me back? Let them try. Let them scream. Let them claw at the empty space where their control over you used to be. It will never touch you again. But what if I'm not ready? You are. You always were. The only thing holding you back was the illusion they created. And now it's shattered. So move. Walk forward. Never look back. Let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them curse your name. It does not matter. Because at the end of the day, they are still in a cage of their own making. And you are already a king. Number 10. A cracked mirror. Will never admit it's broken. It will blame the face looking into it. They look at you and they don't see you. They see everything they failed to become, every path they abandoned, every excuse they clung to, every time they chose weakness over strength. It all stares back at them through you, and they cannot stand it. Your existence alone exposes them. You don't have to call them out. You don't have to name them. You don't have to drag them into the light. They do that themselves. They reveal their own bitterness every time they whisper your name with resentment. Every time they twist your victories into something ugly. Every time they try and fail to convince others that you are the problem. But the truth is written all over them. They hate you because you remind them of what they could have been if they had been strong enough to push through, if they had kept going, if they hadn't surrendered to fear, to comfort, to mediocrity. Your success highlights their failure. Your strength exposes their weakness. Your presence alone strips away every illusion they have built to protect themselves. And instead of rising to meet you, instead of growing, instead of facing their own demons, they attack. They tell themselves that if they can break you, if they can drag you down, if they can make you doubt yourself even for a second, then maybe, just maybe, their failures won't feel so heavy. But no matter how hard they try, no matter how much venom they spit, they cannot escape their own reflection. They are the problem. They always have been. And deep down, they know it. That's why they are obsessed with you. That's why they stalk you, study you, watch your every move, waiting, praying for a moment of weakness, for proof that you are not as strong as you seem. But here's what they refuse to understand. You did not stumble into this power. You were not handed strength. You were not gifted resilience. You were forged in fire, built through storms, hardened by everything that should have broken you, but didn't. You kept pushing. They didn't. You took the hits and stood back up. They stayed down. You didn't wait for permission to shine. They spent their lives waiting. And now they want to convince the world that you don't deserve what you have, that you didn't earn it, that it was all luck, timing, an accident, because admitting the truth would destroy them. They could have been more. They could have fought harder. They could have stood where you stand. But they didn't. And now all they have left is bitterness. So they throw stones, thinking they can crack your foundation. They spread lies, thinking they can rewrite reality. They attack from the shadows, hoping you will break before the light fully exposes them. But a broken mirror will never change the reflection. It will only distort the truth. They can twist your image, bend it, warp it, but they cannot change what you are. And the harder they try to shatter you, the more they reveal themselves. The world sees it, the universe sees it, and deep down, so do they. They know their war is not with you. It's with their own failure. It always has been. But some of you still hesitate. Some of you still question yourselves, still let their voices sink into your skin, still whisper in the dark, wondering if maybe they're right. How dare you? How dare you let the weak shake you? How dare you let the envious dictate your worth? How dare you lower yourself to meet people who were never meant to stand beside you? But what if they never stop? They won't, but they will fade. But what if they turn people against me? Let them. Let the blind follow the blind. The ones who matter will never believe the words of the weak. But what if it gets worse? Then let it. You did not come this far just to fall now. Let them hate. Let them twist their own reflection into something unrecognizable. Let them drown in the bitterness of their own making. None of it matters. Because at the end of the day, you will still be you, and they will always be nothing. Number 11. A blade does not fear the hammer. It welcomes the fire that sharpens it. They thought they could break you. They thought the weight of their attacks, their betrayals, their storms would crush you under the pressure. They thought wrong. Because pressure does not destroy the chosen, it creates them. Every time they struck, they only strengthened you. Every lie, every whisper, every knife in the back only sharpened your edges. Every storm they sent only made you more unshakable. They don't understand it. They don't understand you. They expected you to fall like they would. They expected you to fold under the weight like they always have, because that's what happens to them. That's what happens to the weak. But you are not weak. You did not break. You did not shatter. You did not collapse under the pressure. You rose. You adapted. You became something they never expected, something they can no longer touch. And now they're afraid. Because nothing works anymore. The words that once cut deep, now they bounce off you like dust in the wind. The betrayals that once crushed you, now they only expose who was never meant to walk beside you. The storms that once left you gasping for air, now you walk through them like they are nothing, because they are nothing. And now they see it. Now they realize their greatest mistake. They thought pressure could destroy you, but pressure only creates warriors, and you are indestructible. But some of you still question, still hesitate, still look at the fire and wonder if it's too much? How dare you? How dare you question the very force that made you unbreakable? How dare you look at your scars and see wounds instead of proof that nothing, not one thing, has ever been able to bring you down? But what if it happens again? Then let it. Let them try. Let them throw their worst at you, because it will never be enough. But what if I lose everything? Then everything you lost was never strong enough to stand beside you. The only things that remain are the things meant to last. But what if I can't take it anymore? You can. You already have. And look at you now, still standing, still rising, still untouchable. The pressure they thought would crush you has only turned you into something they can no longer face. They cannot match your endurance. They cannot withstand what you have survived. They cannot stand in the fire that made you. And so now they fear you. Because you are not soft, you are not fragile, you are not something that can be undone by the weight of their attacks. You are diamond forged under pressure. You are steel tempered in fire. You are the thing they tried to break, but only made stronger. And that is why they hate you. Because now, no matter what they do, it will never be enough. They have exhausted themselves, poured everything they had into trying to destroy you, and you are still here, still unshaken, still untouchable, still unbreakable. And they are spent. They have nothing left. They wanted to watch you fall. Now they are forced to watch you rise. And that is their greatest punishment, because they know now, you cannot be broken, you cannot be stopped, you cannot be undone. So let them keep the pressure coming. Let them waste their energy trying to move something that will never bend for them. Let them throw everything they have, because every attack, every betrayal, every storm, it only makes you stronger. And when the dust settles, when they are nothing but echoes of failed attempts, when they fade into the nothingness they always were, you will still be here, unshaken, unstoppable, unbreakable. If this message resonated with you, like, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim this victory. Share this with another chosen one who needs to hear it. Let the universe know you are awake, you are rising, and nothing can stop what's meant for you. Your story is just beginning.